Hello everyone. Welcome to the Bombay Orthopedic Society Video Journal Club. I am Dr. Sandeep Vaidya. At the outset, I would like the BOS for inviting me on this forum. The topic for today is pediatric bone and joint infections. So in pediatric osteomyelitis and septic arthritis, we know that achieving optimal outcome rests on three pillars, namely confirming the diagnosis through clinical examination, blood investigations, and imaging. Secondly, appropriate treatment, which includes medical treatment and surgical treatment. And thirdly, timely treatment. And problems in any of these areas can lead to sequelae, which can have lifelong disability. However, achieving optimal outcome is easier said than done. And there are multiple dilemmas during the management of pediatric bone and joint infections, which a surgeon can face. For the purpose of today's journal club, I have chosen two articles for discussion. The first relates to using culture methods aimed at improving microbial identification rate in pediatric osteomyelitis and septic arthritis. The second pertains to addition of dexamethasone to the medical management of children with septic arthritis. So without much ado, let's jump into the first paper. And this was a study which was performed at the Seoul National University Children's Hospital in Korea and was published in JBJ's 2020. It was a randomized controlled trial. To give you a brief background for this study, identification of positive microorganism is critical in order to choose the appropriate antibiotic. However, the problem in pediatric osteomyelitis septic arthritis is that the specimen obtained may not be of insufficient volume, resulting in poor bacteriological identification. In fact, if you look at literature, the positivity rate for microbial identification rate ranges from 41 to 58%. So the authors hypothesized that if we inoculate the specimen obtained at surgery directly into aerobic pediatric blood culture bottles, it would improve the microbial identification rate, and this rate would be superior to conventional swab and tissue culture methods. A secondary purpose of this study was to assess the effect of preoperative antibiotics on microbial identification. So, patients less than 16 years old age who underwent surgery for osteomyelitis or septic arthritis were included in this study. However, patients with tubercular osteomyelitis and septic arthritis were excluded. So 40 children were chosen with a mean age of 7.2 years, out of which 50%, that is 20 children, were administered IV antibiotics prior to surgery. Regarding the method of specimen collection, so specimen was collected from the infected site and transported to the laboratory by three methods. In the blood culture bottle method, 4 needles of 21 gauge were dipped for a length of 15 to 30 millimeter into the infected site. These needles were then inoculated into 4 blood culture bottles, 2 aerobic and 2 anaerobic. In the sterile swab method, 2 sterile swabs were passed over the infected tissue and placed on transport media. Whereas in the sterile container method, solid samples were collected in 2 sterile containers. Regarding the specimen processing in the laboratory, in the blood culture bottle method, the BACTEC bottles were incubated at 35 degrees Celsius, and if found to be positive, subcultured on blood agar or McConkey agar. In the swab culture and solid specimen culture method, the specimens were directly inoculated into blood agar or McConkey agar. So these are the results with respect to microbial identification. To summarize the results, overall, the blood culture bottle method was superior as compared to the swab culture or tissue culture method. With the blood culture bottle method, the microbes were identified in 68% cases as against 45 and 38% with swab culture and tissue culture methods respectively. However, if a subgroup analysis was performed, the swab culture and tissue culture method were found to be slightly better at identifying MSSA as compared to non-MSSA infections. A few more salient features that came out from this data Microbial identification only with the blood culture bottle method was seen in 23% cases. That is, in 23% cases, the microbes were identified exclusively with the blood culture bottle method. No patients showed a positive growth with swab or tissue culture method when the blood culture bottle culture results were negative. And prior antibiotic therapy had no impact on the rate of microbial identification with blood culture bottle method. Also, regarding the time for microbial identification, the blood culture bottle method was superior as compared to the swab culture or tissue culture method. So, the conclusions that were drawn from this data was that the blood culture bottle method is superior as respect to the conventional culture methods with respect to the microbial identification rate, time to microbial identification, and amount of specimen needed. How does it compare with previous studies? So there are a few previous studies which have corroborated the results that were obtained in this study. Geller et al. Published a study on periprostatic joint infections and confirmed that a smaller amount of fluid is required with the blood culture bottle method as compared to the conventional culture media. The authors further hypothesized that inoculating the blood culture bottle with multiple needles may further increase the microbial identification rate as compared to the results of the present study. Our result that the conventional culture methods were better for MSSA as compared to non-MSSA infections were also confirmed by Geller et al. What are the disadvantages of the BCB culture method? So one of the disadvantages that it is not sensitive for fastidious organisms like Neisseria gonorrhoeae and H. influenzae. However, in practice, this might not make much of a difference as infections due to these organisms are very rare in pediatric bone and joints. What are the limitations of the study? So number one is that this study only assessed the sensitivity and not specificity. And there were no gold standard criteria for distinguishing pathogens from contaminants. Also, the sample size was relatively small for a relatively common pathology. So to conclude, the blood culture bottle culture system improves the microbial identification rate in a shorter period, and it has higher sensitivity with smaller specimen. However, further larger studies are warranted in order to validate these results. So let's now come to the second study, which deals with the addition of dexamethasone therapy for septic arthritis in children. This again was a randomized controlled trial, and it was published in the Journal of Pediatric Orthopedics in 2011. So again, to give you a background for this study, we know that the treatment of septic arthritis essentially consists of medical management with antibiotics and drainage of the infective collection. However, it has been observed that inflammatory process, which is caused due to the host immune response, may delay recovery and result in residual joint damage in certain cases. It has been hypothesized that steroids suppress inflammatory response and therefore may have a beneficial effect, and this has been proven in animal and few human studies. So the purpose of the present study was to evaluate the benefits of adding steroids on the clinical course of septic arthritis in children. So for the purpose of this study, children between 6 months and 18 years with an established diagnosis of septic arthritis were chosen. Patients were allocated 1:1 to receive dexamethasone or placebo. So this was a randomized controlled trial. So along with antibiotics and surgical drainage, in the dexamethasone group, dexamethasone was administered at a dose of 0.15 milligram per kg per dose IV, 4 doses per day for 4 days. In the placebo group, an equal amount of placebo solution was administered. The parameters that were assessed included clinical parameters, which included fever, local warmth, redness, joint circumference, pain, range of motion, and function. However, each parameter was assigned a score of 1, that is least severe, to 3, most severe. These parameters were then added up to calculate the arthritis index, which is a sum of all parameters. For deep joints, that is the hip and shoulder, the arthritis index was slightly modified as the joint circumference, local redness, and warmth could not be assessed for these deep joints. At 1 year, to assess the residual sequelae, anatomic functional abnormalities and limb length discrepancy were assessed. Also, throughout the course of treatment, laboratory parameters which included ESR, WBC, PMN count, and CRP were monitored. The outcome measures included time to clinical and laboratory normalization, duration of hospitalization and antibiotic therapy, and presence of late sequelae. So 49 children with a mean age of 33 months were recruited in this study, out of which 24 were randomized to receive dexamethasone and 25 placebo. The two groups were well matched with respect to age, fever, duration of symptoms, level of acute phase reactants, and joint fluid characteristics. These are the results. So to summarize the results, with the dexamethasone group, earlier normalization of all clinical parameters, including fever, local heat, redness, pain, range of motion, and function was observed. Also, earlier normalization of hematological parameters, including ESR, WBC, and CRP was administered. The duration of IV antibiotics was significantly lesser for the dexamethasone group as compared to the placebo group. Also, if you look at the arthritis index, which is essentially a sum of all the clinical parameters, earlier normalization of arthritis index was observed for the dexamethasone group as compared to the placebo group. Both groups at long-term follow-up had comparable results, and full range of motion was restored, and no deformity or limb length discrepancy was observed in both the groups. So the conclusions that could be drawn from this data included that the administration of injection dexamethasone resulted in the earlier normalization of clinical parameters, laboratory parameters, and also a shorter duration of IV antibiotics and hospitalization was needed if dexamethasone was included in the regime. Why was this beneficial effect of dexamethasone observed? That was because of lowered synovial fluid concentration of inflammatory mediators, namely interleukin-1, TNF-alpha, and metalloproteinases. What is the comparison with previous studies? So, dexamethasone has previously been used in the treatment of bacterial meningitis, and the same was extrapolated to management of septic arthritis. Also, in mice models, steroids administered along with antibiotics have been shown to decrease severity and mortality. A human study which was published in 2003 by Odio et al. Showed that dexamethasone decreases the duration of symptoms in septic arthritis. So that study did corroborate our results. That study also showed that residual sequelae in the form of stiffness, deformity, or limb length discrepancy was more commoner in placebo group as compared to the dexamethasone group. The limitations of this study included relatively smaller number of participants. Another limitation that can be seen is that it is unclear whether steroids were administered in the presence of concomitant osteomyelitis. There is no mention of this in the data. So to conclude, in children with septic arthritis, a short course of IV dexamethasone given early in addition to antibiotics is safe and leads to significant clinical and laboratory improvement, shortens duration of hospitalization, and accelerates recovery. So to conclude, how has my practice changed on the basis of these two papers? So both these papers have brought about some simple, easily applicable, yet meaningful and impactful changes in my practice of pediatric bone and joint infections. Regarding preoperative antibiotics, I don't hesitate to administer preoperative antibiotics because I know from these studies, as well as studies published prior, that preoperative antibiotics have no effect on microbial identification rate in pediatric septic arthritis or osteomyelitis. Regarding intraoperative sample collection, I know always make sure that when I am going to operate a case of pediatric osteomyelitis or septic arthritis, aerobic Bactec bottles are available in the OT, and I inoculate samples obtained at surgery directly into these blood culture bottles. Which are the cultures I request? So aerobic cultures are requested in all cases of bone and joint infections. Additionally, tubercular cultures are requested in cases with subacute presentation, that is symptoms of more than 2 weeks duration. Special cultures, that is anaerobic and fungal cultures, are requested in cases of immunocompromised children or children with history of ICU stay, or cases where there are multifocal infections or penetrating injuries, or there has been a lack of response to primary treatment. Regarding the use of steroids, I always perform a preoperative MRI, and steroids are administered in all cases of isolated septic arthritis. In the absence of clarity whether steroids are beneficial in concomitant septic arthritis and osteomyelitis, I prefer not to administer steroids in these cases. So to conclude, both these papers have brought about extremely simple, easily applicable, yet meaningful impact on outcomes in my clinical practice. That's all from my end. If you have any questions, please drop in your questions in the comment section of this video. Thank you so much.